Picture this. It's a World Cup quarterfinal. 2026. The stadium is packed. Portugal are drawing. Ronaldo is on the bench. And Roberto Martínez is standing there on the touchline, knowing exactly what the right decision is, and knowing exactly what it will cost him if he makes it. Everything comes down to this moment. And we haven't even talked about how they got there yet. Here's the thing about Portugal that nobody fully reckons with. Eusebio never won the World Cup. Figo never won it. Ronaldo, the greatest goal scorer this sport has ever produced, never won it. Three players who, in any honest conversation about the best to ever play this game, belong in that discussion. And that trophy has never once been in Portuguese hands. Not once. So why does 2026 feel different? And why does the answer to that question make everyone inside Portugal football slightly uncomfortable? Because Portugal right now have something genuinely rare. Not just one brilliant player surrounded by decent ones, real top-level quality across the entire pitch. A squad so deep that if you covered the names and showed it to any international manager on earth, they'd want it, no hesitation. This might be the best Portugal squad in 20 years. Actually, it might just be the best, full stop. But there's a problem sitting right at the center of it, and everyone knows what it is. Nobody wants to say it clearly. So let's say it. Cristiano Ronaldo will be 41 years old at the 2026 World Cup. He plays in Saudi Arabia, and he is still, somehow, impossibly, at the absolute center of everything Portugal do. That's not a criticism. That's the situation. And understanding it honestly is the only way to understand what Portugal's real ceiling actually is. Start with the squad, because before you can understand the problem, you need to understand exactly what's at stake. Rúben Dias at center back, one of the best defenders in the world, not just in Europe, in the world. The kind of player who makes the entire defensive structure feel calm when everything around him is breaking down. Opponents plan around him, they have to. Bruno Fernandes as captain, the engine, the player who wants the ball when the pressure is at its absolute highest, who creates from deep, who scores from distance, who leads with every single touch rather than just with words. Vitinha in midfield, quietly, very quietly, becoming one of the most technically complete midfielders in European football. PSG have built their system around him. At international level, he's still underappreciated by the wider audience. The best coaches in the world, though, they've noticed. And then Leão, Rafael Leão, who has been brilliant and absolutely maddening in equal measure his entire career. The kind of winger who makes you want to throw something at the screen and then immediately rewind to watch it again. When he's locked in, he is genuinely unplayable. One moment of space, one drop of the shoulder, and the entire shape of a game changes. Pedro Neto alongside him, explosive, relentless, still discovering how high his ceiling actually goes. This is not a squad built on hope. This is genuine quality, and FIFA's rankings have Portugal in the top 6 in the world right now. This group belongs in the conversation about who wins the whole thing. But here's where it gets complicated. Ronaldo is still here. And before this becomes a simple argument against him, let's be honest about what he still is. His numbers at Al Nassr are extraordinary. 35 goals in 38 appearances in his first full season.
And look, I want to be fair here. That's against weaker opposition than he faced in Europe. Everyone knows that. But still, at 40 years old, those numbers, they tell you something real about the man's physical condition, about his hunger, about the fact that whatever switch exists inside him has not been turned off. In the dressing room, his presence means something that no statistic captures. Portugal's younger players have spoken about it publicly, repeatedly. Not the name, not the celebrity, but the standards, the preparation, the refusal to accept less than everything. And in World Cup moments specifically, he has delivered. That night in Sochi in 2018 against Spain, 3 goals. The equalizer in the 88th minute, a free kick bending over the wall into the top corner while the entire world held its breath. That is a man who was built for the stages that break other people. So the case for Ronaldo is real, completely real. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But there is another case, and it lives in the honest space between what Ronaldo was and what this Portugal team needs to become. Roberto Martínez runs Portugal in a system that asks the center forward to press, to link play, to drag defenders out of position so others can exploit the space left behind. It is a mobile striker's role, a role built for younger legs and a different kind of energy. But before we get to what that means for 2026, there's something you need to hear first. The 2022 World Cup, Qatar. Fernando Santos, Martinez's predecessor, made one of the most debated decisions in recent Portuguese football history. He dropped Ronaldo for the round of 16 against Switzerland, put Gonçalo Ramos in from the start. 21 years old, first World Cup start of his life. He scored a hat trick. Portugal won 6-1. And the team, the way they moved, the way they pressed, the fluidity between the lines, looked different. Anyone who watched that game closely could see it. Not just better in the scoreline, different in the way they played, freer somehow. Now, that's one game against Switzerland. You don't win a World Cup by beating Switzerland, but it cracked something open. A question that Fernando Santos never got the chance to answer, because 4 days later, in the quarterfinal against Morocco, Portugal lost 1-0, eliminated. And the question, the real question about what that Switzerland performance actually meant got buried under the grief of going home. And that's where everything changed, or rather, that's where everything should have changed and didn't. Because here's what makes Roberto Martinez's position so fascinating and so uncomfortable. He was not the manager who dropped Ronaldo in Qatar. That was Fernando Santos. Martínez arrived in January 2023, and his first significant act was to reaffirm Ronaldo's place in the squad, completely. No ambiguity, no hint of the conversation that had been happening in Portuguese football in the weeks before his appointment. And that's the part that stays with you. He has never had to make that call, not once. Every press conference, every squad announcement, the loyalty has been total and unconditional, which means we genuinely do not know what Martínez does when Ronaldo is struggling in a knockout game, when the pressing isn't there, when the legs aren't covering the same ground, when Portugal needs something different, and the answer is sitting on the bench wearing the number 7. That moment is coming. Somewhere in the summer of 2026, in one of those 16 host cities across the United States, Canada, or Mexico, it will arrive. Do you think Portugal can actually win the World Cup with Ronaldo starting every knockout game? Drop it in the comments because this debate is far from settled. So, what is Portugal's actual ceiling? 2 versions of this tournament exist for them. And the difference between those 2 versions is not the squad, not the draw, not the luck of the bracket, it's one decision. In the first version, Martínez manages Ronaldo's minutes with honesty and courage. The expanded 48-team format means more group stage games, more chances to rotate, more room to keep Ronaldo sharp for the moments that suit him while letting the system breathe around younger, more mobile players. Leão runs free. Ramos leads the line in the games that demand pressing and movement. Ronaldo arrives in the knockout rounds with energy, with purpose, with that big game switch still functioning. In this version, Portugal reached the semi-finals. A final is genuinely within reach. This squad has the quality to go all the way, and maybe, finally, they do. In the second version, the emotional and political weight of leaving Ronaldo out becomes too heavy to carry. He starts every knockout game. And Portugal, as they have before in different tournaments in different years, hit a wall. France, specifically, a team that has beaten Portugal in knockout football before, that presses with intensity and transitions at a speed that punishes any hesitation in behind. That is where the space appears, and when it appears, it won't close fast enough.
Maybe Ronaldo makes all of this look foolish, by the way. It wouldn't be the first time. He has made very smart people look very wrong before. And if he turns up in July 2026, scoring in knockout games, dragging Portugal through on sheer force of will, then everything written here becomes a footnote. That has happened before. With him, you can never fully close the door. But the honest answer, the realistic ceiling, is this: semifinals at minimum. A final is possible,
The trophy itself is not impossible, but it requires a decision that Portuguese football in the Ronaldo era has never truly been willing to make while he is still in the room. Where do you think they finish? Genuinely, drop it below. I want to see the predictions before a ball is kicked. And underneath all of it, underneath the tactics, the squad depth, the Martínez dilemma, there is something that reframes this entire conversation. Portugal have never won a World Cup. In 1966, Eusebio came closer than anyone before him. He led that team to the semifinals, scored 9 goals in the tournament, and when it ended, when England beat them and the dream was gone, he cried on that pitch, openly. A man who had given everything, knowing the moment had passed, knowing it wouldn't come again. One of the greatest players this sport has ever seen, weeping because he understood exactly what had just slipped away. Then, Figo, 2006, semi-final against France, gone. Then Ronaldo, quarter-final in 2006, semi-final in 2022, was never reached. The closest he came was watching Gonçalo Ramos score a hat-trick in a system that didn't need him to start. Euro 2016 was Portugal's, genuinely, beautifully theirs. But Ronaldo went down inside the first half hour of that final, tried to get up, couldn't, tried again, his knee giving way beneath him. He spent the rest of the match on the touchline, shouting instructions, pointing, willing his teammates forward while his body refused to cooperate. It is one of the most human moments of his entire career. The trophy came, but not the way anyone imagined. The 2026 World Cup will almost certainly be his last. He has said as much himself. And it will almost certainly be the peak year for the players around him, Leão, Ramos, Vitinha, Neto, before the next cycle of change begins. His final tournament, their best moment, happening at exactly the same time. That collision between what he was and what they need to become, between the weight of his legacy and the freedom they need to find, is the real story of Portugal in 2026. Not the group stage draw, not the rankings, not the formation. Roberto Martínez knows this. He is not a naive man. He won the FA Cup with Wigan Aken. He took Belgium to a World Cup semi-final. He has sat inside impossible decisions before and come out the other side. The question isn't whether he knows what might need to happen. The question is whether, when the stadium is full and the knockout game is in the balance and Ronaldo is on that bench looking at him, whether in that moment, under all of that weight, he actually does it. We won't know until it's too late to change anything. And that, more than any squad list, any tactical setup, any draw or ranking or prediction, is what will decide how far Portugal go.